thank you all for joining. We're so very happy to see you. Most of you I've met, and you've probably, it sounds like most of our faculty are familiar with you as well. And so I love that you've really kind of reached out to us from different angles to really get different perspectives of the PhD program. Obviously, I talk more about the admissions and how to apply and those types of steps. And then Dr. Robert and Dr. Zong can definitely talk more programmatic things. Like I said, we do want to go ahead and get started. I do want to give Dr. Zong and Dr. Robert a chance to say a quick hello and introduce themselves.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm so happy to see all of you here, and thank you for your interest in our program. And we're here to answer all the questions that you have.
Yes, hello. You will hear us say that every time with every email you send us. We'll say, thank you for your interest, but you know what? We actually mean it. It's exciting to talk about what we do, and it's even more exciting to hear from you to learn what you, where you come from in terms of your educational background and what you want to study. So hopefully we can answer your questions about today about whether or not we match to what you want to study. Okay.
Perfect. And today's presentation is a little bit short. I've listened to your questions and y'all have a lot. And so most of you are pretty familiar with the program, so we're going to breeze through a lot of it. But if you do have questions, do not hesitate to put those in the chat. I man the PowerPoint, but I try to also keep an eye on the chat, and Dr. Robert or Dr. Zong usually do as well. And so if you do have a question, go ahead and put that in the chat, and we will try to address that as soon as we are able. We are recording. We're not necessarily planning to post this one on YouTube or anything, but sometimes we do go ahead and post these recordings just for the benefit of other students. And so keep that in mind. If you don't want to share your face and you want to take your screen off, you're certainly welcome to do that, but that's completely your choice. With that, we will go ahead and get started and let our faculty program directors really talk a little bit about the program, kind of what you can expect and what they're looking for in applicants.
Okay, so Dr. Zhang and I come from two different parts of education. My expertise and experience is in the world of K-12. And so when we evaluate applicants, we have those perspectives in mind. And I'll let Dr. Zhang explain her background. But when I'm looking at a K-12 applicant, for example, I'm looking to see how much experience someone has in not just teaching and not necessarily teaching, but I'm looking to see what they want to study. Does it match what our faculty studies? It doesn't have to be exact, but is there some sort of similarity or alignment in ideas? We're a leadership program, so it's ideal that you have leadership experience or a research interest specifically in leadership. So those are some of the things that we're looking for. We also, it's both leadership and policy studies. Those can be considered similar things, connected things, or separate, depending on what aspect of policy studies you're interested in. That is kind of what I'm looking at, and I'll let Dr. Zhang take it from there.
Thank you, Dr. Robert. First of all, I want to say it's actually it's a group decision. It's not either Dr. Roberts' decision, herself, or my decision, and it's actually we have a committee. I think includes all the faculty members who will be teaching in the doctoral program, and all of us will meet and evaluate all of your application materials, and we will look at everything that you submitted to through the admissions process, and we'll evaluate everything holistically. Just like Dr. Robert mentioned, we want to see why you're passionate, why you're interested in applying to this program, because there are many other programs available. And also we want to see the connections between your interest and our program. How can our program serve your needs? If you're, let's say planning to be an engineer, apparently this is not what we can do here, right? So we want to see if there's a way that we can serve you. We want to know clearly what your goals are and how can we serve you. Since this is a PhD program, research is a very important element. We want to see if you have any particular research interests? Have you done any homework about faculty members in our department, what we do, and see if there's anything that you're interested in researching with us, something like that. I think if you could highlight your background, experiences, and how does that relate to our program, your research interests, that I think that will help us to better understand your experiences and how can we help you once you're enrolled in the program.
Great. Related to that, I often get asked from prospectors when they're first in the exploratory portion and they're not sure if they want a PhD. How do they know if and when they're ready to start pursuing a PhD? And so I'd love if one of you could answer that question.
Go ahead, Dr. John. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I think research is a very important component. If it is a PhD program, you are expecting to do a lot of research. The topics could be different, the methods could be different, but research is just a major component. If you are into research, I think PhD will be a good option for you. But if you're hesitant to work with data, it could be numbers, it could be words. If you're hesitant about that part, maybe you can spend a little bit more time, maybe, you can reach out to us. We can explain a little bit more what research is and what research specifically in the educational context. And we can share with you some of the term papers and like typical assignments with you so you have a better understanding about the requirement of the program.
Yeah, the ideal candidate for somebody who's currently a practitioner and doesn't intend to become a researcher at the end of the program, but wants to learn about research and learn to conduct research in the context of their job, that person should ideally have some burning questions or some methodology that they want to learn how to do that they've never known how to do. For example, in my previous work, before I earned my doctorate, I did a lot of descriptive analysis of data, but I didn't do any inferential analysis. I didn't run regressions and didn't do that deeper level of analysis. And so for me, that was one of the things I wanted to learn. And so it helps to have some experience under your belt, if that's your track, if you're a practitioner, so that you already have some context to talk about it. But then there's really different types of candidates, because again, as Dr. Zhang pointed out, if you're a researcher and you want to become a professor, or you want to conduct research in some format after the program, then again, it's more about your research interest and your interest in conducting that kind of work.
Perfect. I think we can go ahead and move on, and we can certainly come back to that topic. I know several of you have met with me and you've had questions. The other common questions we get are related to the cost. And so UTA has a really awesome tool called the tuition estimator. And I've been in higher ed for a little bit, and across the probably 4 different schools that I've been at, this is probably the one that I've liked the most just for the ease of use. And it's pretty spot on. We actually had a person who was reporting to me in UTA's MBA program. So obviously a different program, but she was telling me that as she was going through that process, her tuition estimator was actually only about $200 US off. And it was actually higher. The estimate that she got was higher. And so it's not going to be an exact cost necessarily, because circumstances can vary by student, but it does give you a really good estimate of what your expenses would be if you took, say, 6 hours versus 9 hours, which really helps with the planning. And I went ahead and did a little bit of the work. I actually went through the tuition estimator for you. This is for this past fall. They don't have the numbers up for 2022 yet, but they will be similar to this. So this past fall, a student starting, you can see the tuition for someone taking 6 hours who's a Texas resident inside the United States. You can see it's just under $3,000, and then once you add the fee, it's about $3,600. And so it's a good way to kind of play around. It's a really good tool. I'll go back one more slide just in case you need to write that down, and I'll put that in the chat as well. just as soon as I get a chance. But if you need to write it down, it's here in the left-hand corner if you want to check out the tuition estimator at your convenience. Also, how to get started. Most of you already know these steps from when I was talking to you, but once you've decided, you will apply through goapplytexas.org. If you have looked at this program maybe a couple of years before our new program directors got in place, you might be familiar, or maybe you did a master's degree, you might be familiar with applytexas.org. It's very similar. It's just that the state of Texas, they control that website, and they have finally updated it. It did need some updating because it was a little clunky. It was a little hard to use. And so they've updated that website, and the new URL is goapplytexas.org. And that's going to enable you to apply for this program and pay your application fee at once, which takes care of both of these steps. If for some reason you forget, though, there is a way that you can pay it after the fact. So just kind of know that. You'll submit all of your official documents to UTA, including the FAFSA, if you're planning on doing that. And from there, once you apply through Apply Texas, usually within about 48 hours, you get an email from UTA with your MyMav account. Your MyMav account, if you came from another university, it's just your student portal. It's where you're going to be able to check your admission status. You'll be able to check your financial aid. You'll be able to accept your financial aid. It's a really, really handy resource. If for some reason UTA is missing something to process your application, or if there's a hold on your account that's going to prevent you from registering, it very often will appear in your MyMav account. I tell students if they don't get it within about 48 to 72 hours, they can email me and let me know. Usually it's in the spam box or a junk box, but I did have one student who she was just like, I'm sorry, I deleted it. So I just reached out to OIT and I had them resend it. And it's something they can do easily. So if you don't get it, or if you don't see it, just let me know. We can have them resend it. And then lastly, you'll meet with your advisor, and they will be able to help remove those holds and get you connected to register for classes, in addition to your faculty advisor who you'll work closely with for that. So that's just a little bit. The deadline, as you all know, our early deadline is March 8th, so it is around the corner. I always encourage students to apply as soon as they know they're ready to apply. I've only been at this college for about 7 months, but I've been, like I said, in higher ed for a little bit, and I've seen the stress of students who wait to the last minute, and it stresses me out, and I'm not doing anything. I'm literally just emailing them, letting them know what the steps are. And so please, if you're planning to apply, things happen, references get delayed. It took you longer on that one little part of the application than you thought. And as you probably seen from our website, this application does have a few different steps. And so give yourself just that cushion and that early room to work. If for some reason you do miss that early admission deadline, there is another one. But like I said, I try to encourage people to apply early. One question for either Dr. Robert or Dr. Zong that I get a lot is, okay, if I apply early, when do you start to notify students that they've been admitted?
Okay, seems like, okay, so we will have 2 review sessions. The first one, once we receive the applicants for the first deadline, we will review the applicants and then let you know within a month. Will be in early April, and we will let you know. I think normally we have 3 different decisions. One is for sure you're admitted, and the worst scenario is sorry, but you're more than welcome to try again next year. And the third option, I think it's we will let you know after we review the second group of applicants. Am I right, Dr. Robert? Are there anything you like?
Yeah, because we're looking, we're obviously looking for a particular cohort size, and so you may very well, and you shouldn't be overly worried if we ask you to wait with the final deadline. It just means that, we may have had so many applicants that we're going to need to weigh it with the rest of the applicants. So it's not necessarily a huge indication of your chances of getting in, right? So we try to be as transparent as we can with you about where you're at in the process. And so, yeah, as Dr. Zhang said, 1 of 3 things: yes, no, or maybe, and we'll keep you posted.
I'm glad you said that because I'm sure there's people on the line like me who would immediately start to get stressed. And here's just a few other resources. Like I said, we're going through this very fast because I wanted to leave a good 30 minutes for questions. So go ahead and start putting those questions. I think I actually see a couple in the chat, and so I will check those soon and start reading those out loud. But go ahead and start putting those questions in the chat because we really do want to make sure that we have time sufficiently to address. Sorry, my door is open just because it's after 5 and almost, and so usually everyone's gone. And it gets very cold in here, so it just helps if I can keep it open. But again, tons of resources for, oh, and I'm sorry that it still says apply Texas at the top. I did not see that over. That's an oversight. That should say go applytexas.org. So please mentally correct that and don't go to Apply Texas. If you do go to Apply Texas, there is a big button in the center of the page telling you to go to Apply Texas though. So hopefully you'll catch that. And then last but not least are just some general contact information. We do have a general inquiry form on our website. I usually don't tell people to read it because it just comes to me. You can just email the education@uta.edu inbox. That I check that as well. And so that's really probably the best way to just generally get a hold of us. And then also I just wanted to put the email for our advisor, Berhani. She's not able to be here today, but she's also a very good resource for this program. And she's actually in our MED program at the higher education level. And so she's just an immense resource. In addition, I know our faculty are always happy to connect with students, and many of you have already connected with them. So that's kind of our presentation in a nutshell. Let's